We'll just say you just have to turn it off. Second. Gordon's bag has one on each chair. Okay.
Oh, that's my fault. Sorry, I had the last meeting in here.
I think that was just a plug with wire from camera up there that we don't use anymore.
Oh, yeah, that is what it is.
Jump back here. Really should have triggered that. Probably. Could have just thrown them. I'll go up, you go under. Much better.
Okay, I will call to order this December monthly meeting of the Village of Trumansburg Board of Trustees. Let's see, are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, that takes us to item number 3, which is our consent agenda. We have an abstract, which I will read into the record, as well as a bunch of meeting minutes, some from back in the spring that we never got a chance to approve, as well as our meeting minutes from last month, both of those meetings. The abstract includes a general fund abstract totaling $314,825.71. EMS billing abstract in the amount of $17,739.04. Water fund totaling $44,237.55. Water fund totaling $44,237.55. Sewer fund totaling $20,254.05. And trust and agency totaling $38,240.94. So I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Any questions, comments, discussion?
Just to note that one of those meetings I was not there for, so I'm not going to abstain from the whole vote, but just as a note. And I've also put some comments in those meeting minutes. There was a couple, mostly grammatical errors.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, and all in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented with potential edits, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That takes us to item number 4, which is our first public comment period. I do see someone joining us online. And so if there is any public comment that anyone would like to offer, please do.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Michael, and I'm not sure if this is the right part of the meeting to do this, but I was told that I should come here and address this with you guys. Is that I'm really interested in helping to start a skate park here. I know that there was an initiative by a guy, and he was raising money, but I don't know what was going on with that. I don't know where that money went. So I'm not really involving myself with that guy, but I want to bring it to your attention that, you know, this is something that I think that the community could really use. Right now, there's not really anything for the youth of this place. And so I myself am a lifelong skateboarder. I have written a lot of grants in college. you know, I've had a career in the sciences, so I understand kind of that world. And I would really like to work with you guys in some capacity and find out what the deal is. You know, I know I just did some research, and the Tony Hawk Foundation is very willing to support a project like this, like a brand new skate park. And they just need, you know, it's kind of like a working with them kind of thing. But I just wanted to plant this, you know, like I said, I don't know if this is the right time to say this, but this is something that I'm very willing to take on and to do it with you guys, not as some like outside fundraiser where I get people's money and then nobody knows what happened with that. Like, I want this to be a really transparent thing where people can, you know what's going on, and they can trust what's going on as well. And so, so yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Have you thought about reaching out to the organization that is already existing, that they're getting together, trying to get together properties for youth programs? Is it Trumansburg? I don't want to say it's Trumansburg Recreation because it's a private community rec. Trumansburg Community Rec, and they're trying to get together soccer fields, ball fields, a pool. There's already been money set aside for certain things, and they have a board and a committee that specifically works on exactly what you're doing.
On this.
So
What are they called?
They do have a website. It's what, Trumansburg Community Rec. And they do have a website, and there are board members, I believe, and people that head that. And I think that would be a great way for you guys to connect and work on the same thing.
Cool. All right. So I can just get in touch with them and
Yeah. The website is tbergcr.org, and they have a contact page, but it's I don't know, that might be the easiest way. Or
So tbergcr.org would be where you go to, and there is a contact there. And they would probably be really enthusiastic about working with you because they're basically working on the same thing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, that sounds good. Yeah. That was the main reason I came to this meeting. So, but you know, thanks. I'll get in touch with them, and hopefully we can make something happen.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea for you guys to connect. I think that would be, and I think you would make more headway that way. Absolutely. Because they're really enthusiastic. They probably have fundraising ideas. And if you, and like you said, with the Tony Hawk organization and everything, you might be able to really get together and accomplish some things together. So I would go on that website and contact some people. Cool. All right. Well, I'll do that. All right. Well, thanks so much. Thanks for coming.
Right, yeah. Have a good meeting. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Should always say you're allowed to stay.
Oh.
That never works. All right, well, seeing no other members of the public present, I will move along to reports of representatives. And we have Mary Bouchard from the town joining us via Zoom. Mary?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, I've been out of commission for a couple of months. Well, actually, there's a bunch of reasons. But anyway, it's been a few months since I prepared a report. But we don't have a whole lot to report. We passed our budget last month, increasing the tax levy overall 3.03%. You know, we have different tax rates for residents who are in the village versus the residents who live outside of the village. And because different things are funded by different funds, there's a fund outside the village and a fund that includes the village. But the rate for the village residents went down 4.85%. Anyway, so that was done. Also, we have some open volunteer positions, planning board has some openings. The BZA has openings. We also have a comprehensive plan update committee that we're looking for members and an ag committee. So if anybody knows anybody with interests in those areas, that would be, tell them to contact Carissa at the town hall and she can provide them with an application. We also passed a resolution to become a bee-friendly community. And so we're putting together a committee of interested folks who would be interested in fulfilling the dictates of this designation, which would be to identify open spaces within the town, come up with lists of pollinator-friendly native plants and suppliers, and encourage the use of an integrated pest management, which is a non-pesticide way of controlling agricultural pests. And we also have to have an annual pollinator event, which I'm very excited about, and which the committee will be working on. We don't know when it's going to be or what shape it's going to take, but we're looking forward to working on something, hopefully for the spring. We also had a request. I might have mentioned this before because the Init Taganek did a presentation for us that they were looking to expand their rooms at the inn, tear down one of those separate buildings and build a 75-room hotel with a fitness center and gift shop, all that kind of stuff. And so they filed a formal request to have this plan considered by the board, and we have referred it to the planning board. It'll probably need an environmental review. And to my knowledge, the planning board has not taken them up on this yet, but it should be in the works. Anyway, that's about all I have. Oh, and I just want to say thanks for recommending that Michael talk to the Trumansburg Community Recreation, because you know, I was involved in a skate park thing decades ago or a while ago, and we did have some money, and that money was turned over to Trumansburg Community Recreation. So you know, there's already a little seed of money for that, and I'm sure they would love to work with this guy to bring about something for the kids.
Great, thanks, Mary. Any questions or comments for Mary from the board? All right, well, thank you, Mary.
Okay, thanks.
And Corman is not online. If she joins us later, we'll come back to see what she has for us from the county. Item number 6 on our agenda is reports from our board, as well as the clerk and treasurer's office, starting with myself. We tried last month unsuccessfully to cancel our second meeting. I believe we will be successful this month, since our second meeting would fall on the 26th, which we are, I believe the village office is closed that day anyway. So we will not be holding a second board meeting in December. We should, however, be looking at dates for our annual State of the Village meeting. I forget what year this will be. Will it be 10 or 11? or more. State of the village. This might be more. I think last year was our 10. Traditionally, we hold it the first Saturday in February, but that is certainly not by any means set in stone. So if anyone has any thoughts about a Saturday morning, seems to be well attended. We'll have the usual refreshments, so on at the fire hall.
That works for me.
Yeah, it works for me because I'll be gone the end of February.
Okay, well, let's pencil in then. Saturday morning, 9 a.m., February 4, 2023. Trumansburg Fire Hall. And we can discuss between now and say first week of January. Certainly, if you have anything on your mind now, I can add it to the list. As for topics, I know every year in the past we've done postcards to send out. So I'd like to have the list done by shortly after New Year's. I'd like to do some type of a 2022 year in review. I don't know whether we do separate department updates or kind of meld those two. We do kind of a year in review as it pertains to each department. I thought we could do a CPZR update.
We'll hopefully have a draft that people will be able to look at by then.
Good. Depending what comes out of our conversation here in a few minutes, we could do some publicity on the sewer law. I expect we will have a potentially significant Camp Barton update by then. So if there's anything else that comes to mind between now and say, Tammy, what kind of time frame do you want for the postcards? Tammy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks, Gordon. So we're talking about February 4th. I would like to have them out the door by the 16th of January. Well, let's say the 9th of January. I know this doesn't give us a long time, but gets us out 3 weeks ahead of said meeting.
If between now and say Thursday, the 5th, we can have any new topics discussed and thrown around, we can discuss by email. I don't want to overwhelm the agenda and I don't want to bog down the postcard. But if there's anything that you think is worth discussing, then we can do that. And last but not least, for me, I need approval from the board to sign contracts with the town of Hector for the town of Hector Ambulance District, the town of Hector for the Mecklenburg Ambulance District, the town of Covert, and the town of Ulysses. With those municipalities for both ambulance and fire protection.
Move that we authorize Roden to sign those contracts.
So moved. So that's a motion and a second from
Yes.
Keith. We'll take it. Any questions, conversation, or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and that's what I have for me for this month. Which takes us to Marcia, Fire and Trumansburg Chamber.
I'm gonna go to the chamber event tomorrow, Wednesday. It's Wednesday at Newport. Yeah, that'll be nice. I don't have a lot to report on the fire department because I've had a very taxing family situation to deal with. So I didn't make the meeting. The most recent thing I did was approved, they needed 5 new pagers and batteries for fire department, so we put that through. But I don't have any details on calls or anything for this month. Short and sweet. I've just been on commission.
Okay. EMS, Youth and Street Tree Advisor.
So I don't have much on youth or street tree. We still have a posting out to fill the program manager's position. Not a lot of applicants so far. I think they were going to extend the posting. But aside from that, things are moving along. You know, in terms of recreation, which is separate. All of our usual work is continuing as normal. As far as trees go, I don't have anything to report, although I do think that next year we will move from a targeted risk management specific program for the tree program, which I had named at one point, and I can't remember the name, to something broader, so something that people would need to apply for, and we would review on a case-by-case basis, rather than doing an inventory of the entire village every year, which the committee is just frankly kind of burnt out on at this point. So that's that. In terms of EMS, we had 105 calls last month. 24 covert, 11 hectares, 4 Mecklenburg, 3 in Ovid. I didn't separate that one, so 27. Anyway, 23 in the village, 33 in Ulysses, and 7 mutual aid. Of mutual aid, 1 was in Watkins, which is worth noting, and there are 2 in the city of Ithaca. So that's where we are. The other piece that I wanted to update everyone on for EMS is that Joel has put together a plan basically to pilot a second crew. So limited time, sort of a minimal budget impact. It's basically the way he designed is to he has been doing administrative shifts. So in addition to his ambulance shifts, he's doing a certain amount of time just in the office. So he's scheduling an EMT parallel to those times. So it's pretty minimal. It'll be interesting. It'll start probably spring. There's usually kind of a lull in calls through the winter. So we'll see how that goes. We've definitely, I mean, I've said this a million times, but EMS is really a question of surge capacity, and it's so hard to trace, you know, I mean, it's that second crew may take 0 calls for a day and then, you know, 2 or 3 the next day. So it's really, we'll see how it goes, but that's kind of where we are now. I mean, I think I've mentioned the specter of a second ambulance probably for a decade now, but we're getting there, especially with mutual aid calls expanding. That takes us further out of our district, which takes longer, and on and on and on. So that'll be, like I said, March or early spring in any case. But that's really it as far as updates go.
Okay, any questions for Ben? Hearing none. DPW, water, sewer, CPZR, and farmers market.
Sure. So on the CPZR front, next meeting is Monday. I anticipate that we will be approving our draft for this board to review and potentially adopt. So once we get there, I will let everyone know if and when that happens, and then we can start our process of sorting out what we would like our final review and potential adoption process to look like. We will have to do at the very least a public hearing and seeker review and all those sorts of jazz parts. But we can decide if we'd like an additional public meeting or whatever else we'd like to do with that. Obviously, we'll talk about it at the State of the Village, assuming we're all sorted by then, which I anticipate we will be. I guess maybe to just review that we did, you know, put out a draft in the June, July timeframe. Got a lot of good feedback from the community, good feedback from this board, from our attorney, and the committee has been spending the past number of months kind of filtering all that back in. So there have been meaningful changes to the draft in response to all that. So I'm optimistic that people will see that and see that we, you know, heard the concerns and made some real changes, but we'll see how that all goes. Farmers market's pretty quiet this time of year, though there will be a winter farmers market coming up that people can keep an eye out for. I think there's some information on the village website, so take a look for that. on the Facebook page. I've seen it around somewhere. Is this ringing a bell?
Yes.
Yes. Let's see, and then on DPW water sewer, the big thing here is the sewer law. So this has been something that's been in the works for a few years now, actually. Started before I actually moved into this trusteeship. So we've been working with our engineering firm, MRB, to take a look at our sewer law. The current one that we have on the books is from the 60s. And definitely was in need of updating. There's been substantial changes in what is kind of recommended to be included in the sewer law. So unfortunately, we're going from something that's 5 or so pages to 100 or so pages. But it also covers much more in depth things like a whole bunch of requirements for if you're adding new sewer main pipes and what do they have to look like, and reviews and what can you actually dump in the sewer, and all these sorts of things. I think the part that will be of most interest to folks is clarifying our sewer pricing, basically. Again, I don't believe it will impact heavily folks who are single families or even multiple residencies, but it will help us get a consistent pay scale for commercial, essentially commercial, non-dwelling units. So anyhow, we are at a point where it's gone through legal review, our engineering firm's review, Roden and I both looked at it, and we are ready to introduce it to this board for our consideration. Same kind of questions go along with it as for zoning. We can have a discussion if we would like to have just go through with the public hearing and the law adoption kind of process, or if we'd like to have more of a public meeting. Again, we'll talk about it in the state of the village, so maybe that's sufficient. But I think the first thing to start with is to introduce the law here. And it is in the Dropbox, and there is a frequently asked questions document that we can release with it. We can always update that kind of as we go as well, as we start to hear more questions and input from the community. So I don't think I need a motion to introduce the law, but I guess I would like to know if we have any initial thoughts on process here, or if we'd rather kind of start with the state of the village and see where things go from there.
It's definitely a lot to take in.
It's a lot. Yeah.
So my initial thought is I would like to have some type of outreach, and I don't have an opinion as to what that looks like, but some type of outreach to the commercial users.
Mhm.
And as much as we can, it doesn't have to be necessarily tailored to each one, but as much as we can, kind of try to highlight the impact to them. If we could do that in January timeframe, then I think the state of the village can be the public informational piece. The FAQs and anything else you think is relevant to kind of primarily the residents. I think the commercial users deserve a kind of a direct outreach, since they'll be the ones most impacted. Particularly any ones where we're looking at, a grease trap.
Yeah.
And on the residential side, I think a public informational meeting with FAQs is probably good, unless or until we start to hear a lot of questions or feedback that we haven't addressed. And then from there, I would be comfortable if we don't get a lot of kind of concerns, then I think at our February meeting, we can set the public hearing in March. If we get a lot of concerns, then we can push the timeline back out with that.
That sounds fine. I should point out, we have reached out to everyone that may be required to install a grease trap and have let them know that is a change that's coming along. That is, in my estimation, kind of the biggest change or possible issue for the commercial users. It is unfortunately something we really can't flex on. We can be flexible around kind of time scale and how that all works, but it really does make a meaningful impact on the sewer itself and really does need to get addressed. I would have to go back. We did that a number of months ago, so I'd have to go back and review kind of who responded and whatnot there. So if we were to reach out again, which I'm not opposed to, but it would probably, we could reiterate the grease trap information, but I would probably focus more on potential changes in billing, maybe. But I'm happy to work with maybe Jessica. I'm not sure who I would work with to sort out something we can mail out to commercial users.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as we saw recently with the water rate changes and the capital charge, it's nice to be able to have a timeline of our notification,
Yeah,
because 2, 3, and 4 notifications will often go unnoticed. So at least we've done our part and we make the effort.
yeah.
So here we're gonna generate a communications timeline strategy as well as content.
Yep.
The other sewer law suggestions, thoughts.
It helps them, it helps them willing to wear the sandwich board on.
That might catch eyes.
Pull out your chicken soup.
You want to wait till it's warmer.
I can do it while also doubling as a needed crossing guard, so.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, I think there's a lot of cross promotion happening here.
No, I think that sounds good. I think as long as the folks who will be most impacted have been notified now for a second or third time.
Yeah.
Then I think the state of the village is a perfect time to do.
The benefit too here is that this will bring in line our sewer billing and that new capital charge on water. So like things will start kind of looking the same and feeling the same, and hopefully create some sort of regularity with the billing. It's still going to catch people off guard. We will end up kind of unrelated to this, but we will end up having an increase in the water charge again in the middle of next year. Probably something to point out in the state of the village again. Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we're kind of working through this backlog of making everything more consistent and understandable, even if it's surprising as it rolls out.
You would, and Tammy, if you could hear me, if you would, let's make a note. If I don't have it, I'm sure Tammy does, to try and find, I think it's the 2013 State of the Village informational piece on the then proposed water project. What we thought it would do to water rates. And then we can show relative to current water rates, you know, are we on track, over budget, under budget, whatever the case might be. Because there's certainly a lot of folks, a lot of village residents who might not remember 2013.
I think there are several.
Okay, good. Anything else on the DPW side?
That's it for me.
You still need executive session. Yeah?
Sorry, yes, still a deed of executive.
Okay. Police and events and tourism committee.
First, would like to, I guess, congratulate Officer Dan Bechtold, who completed his 6 months of probation as part of the part of his hiring was doing 6 months instead of 1 year, and Chief is very pleased, and so that has come and gone without any reason but to be grateful for the job Officer Bechtold has done so far. For our November report, 135 calls for service, assisting with 7 outside of the village, which included an overdose on Jacksonville Road, 4 traffic complaints, 2 motor vehicle crashes in the town of Ulysses. For criminal investigations, we had 1 domestic investigation, 1 larceny theft, 2 harassments, 1 dispute/disorderly conduct investigation, 4 motor vehicle crash investigations, and 1 another different motor vehicle crash incident. Speaking of statistics, you'll actually see it in the Dropbox if you really care to look. Found an interesting report that's a public report that is pushed out by the Village of Bath. Pretty detailed report. I'm not actually sure if we are able to track everything that's in that report. But I found that it was very much in line with kind of where we're trying to get to following the reimagining report we put out there. And I sent it to Chief and he actually really liked it. So Chief is trying to kind of come up with as much of a version of that as we can. And as part of that, hopefully over the holidays, I'll be working more on building out a police space on our website. Just something Chief and I have talked about for a couple months now. And so we're kind of putting the finishing touches on exactly what we want on there. Just kind of help people familiarize with the department and other stuff going on with the department. We don't want to just be reliant on Facebook for all messaging for a number of reasons. But also we think we can put a little bit about our officers on there without it, revealing too much personal stuff about them. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on any of that.
Looks like a cool report. That seems like a really good direction.
Yeah, again, I mean, I think Rorden, you're kind of part of that group where the county is just starting to kind of think about some of those like demographic metrics and stuff. So I don't know how much that stuff we even have yet, but I think it's a step in being able to put more out there and let people kind of ask questions on what they're seeing. So they put that right on their Facebook page. So
It's kind of a 21st century police blotter kind of thing. But instead of publicizing who got arrested last night, it's more of a holistic view. Yeah. On the police officer bio piece, certainly once Chief is comfortable with it, I would like to see it before it's put up.
Sure.
Just in case there's anything that rings any legal bells.
Yeah.
Might want guy away.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I know he's very sensitive with that stuff too. So we're not gonna say too much, but
No, I just want to make sure we're not even voluntarily wandering anywhere that we shouldn't.
I believe that's everything I have for police right now. The hiring of the new officer is ongoing. So we'll continue to look for that. On the ETC, obviously, Winterfest was last weekend. Need to thank all the members of ETC that helped make it possible, especially Cynthia Menino. If you know Cynthia, buy her a coffee or something, or maybe an alcoholic beverage, because that was a big job and she took on a lot of it on her own. And we are going to meet on January 6th, where we will debrief Winterfest and all the feedback she collected from community members who attended, including that apparently the change of tree location was well received, but the tree was not big enough. So so I'm all for a 30-footer or something like that, but we're going to have to find an appropriate anchor. And you might not be able to see the bank, which might be a downside for the bank.
Could put it on top of the bank.
Then we can have our own grappling Santas, like goodness. There we go. Now we're thinking.
They can repel. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the fire department would be good training.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's all coming together. It's all coming together. Which reminds me, there were several community members who, leading up to Winterfest, let me know, or I should say reminded me, that Winterfest used to be a full 2-day festival. To which I said, that sounds great. You know, ETC is happy to take more volunteers, as is the Winterfest committee. So if you're feeling really in the holiday spirit and you want to make Winterfest 2 days again, I am with you and we would love your help to bring that to fruition. Also had a good conversation with the folks who put on Streets Alive down in Ithaca, and they are very interested in bringing Streets Alive to Trumansburg. I'll have some more details on that. You know, if you know Streets Alive, in the sad times of my life before I moved to Trumansburg and I lived in Ithaca, I attended a couple times and always thought it was a pretty neat event, basically an opportunity to close down a road. And their mission is really focused on trying to show, you know, how streets could be used if they weren't prioritized to vehicles. Now you might say streets are created for vehicles, but you know, I think the idea is like more, not necessarily getting rid of roads, but what if they're more pedestrian friendly or bike friendly and that kind of thing? What else could you do as a community if you had more spaces like that? So it's not like, look what we could do if we shut down Halsey. So the neighbors might like that, right?
I say we go to being a golf cart. I'm totally electric golf cart.
All right,
I know.
might be another item for another time.
That'd be a great.
State of the village.
But anyway, so you know, the idea is the streets closed, people can walk, people can bike, you set up community organizations have a chance to kind of set up tables and you kind of line the road with that kind of a thing. You know, so they have different ideas for kind of criteria that make a good road for that. Ideally, it leads kind of, it's like an artery into like the heart of your town. So something we can debate. They also like the idea of combining it and doing it in conjunction with Porch Fest, which could be interesting, and that would have to involve our Porch Fest friends and organizers who would like to hear from them on what they think about that. So that could be a future conversation for ETC and Porch Fest and everybody to get together and talk about. I will also fail to mention for Winterfest, congratulations to Trumansburg Optical and Dr. Henninger for winning the Mary Merchant Award for Best Decorated Storefront. So that is a coveted prize.
I don't think I'd ever seen the statue. I'm very like it. Very nice.
Yeah, it's not Lord Stanley's cup. It is certainly a nice.
I thought it was very apropos. I thought it was really.
I think that's all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Keith?
I will say I joked about the sandwich board, but in terms of like communicating village things, it does occur to me we don't really have like a central external sign that could be, you know, just highlight things to look on the website or so as people drive by.
I know years ago, it was proposed that we get a sign similar to like what the school has out in front. It's electric and has all the
talked about
meeting dates and the,
It's come up a few times.
yeah.
Sign is pretty bright. I
People
wanted-
couldn't say they didn't see it.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and just say how aesthetically upsetting I find just the idea of that sign.
Yeah, maybe not that sign, but it's not, I mean, it's not unusual to drive by a town or village hall and you have like
With something.
almost
Right.
like the church board where it's like, you know, mass 6:30
Right,
Wednesday night.
but if you've ever done those letter.
Rebrand their meetings.
Pain to do, those, the letter boards where you put the individual.
We have some very talented people in our front office.
Try putting it up when it's cold and blowing and your letter T ends up
What about a
across the
scrolling?
street at the liquor store.
What about a scrolling marquee across the
Yeah,
front?
for my-
I mean, it could be
Times Square
digital
wraps
without
around
being
Without being.
intrusive. Yeah.
We could do digital without being.
I've got a friend of mine does the Times Square boards, and like really, we could go all out. Yeah.
There again, put it on top of the bank. You know. Maybe we could have a virtual tree lighting in Rhode Island.
I think think about something that'd be great to see.
Yeah.
Committee conversation.
Treasurer's office.
Madam Treasurer.
Just to let you all know that the abstract was done all by Jessica.
Under the review and close scrutiny, as it should be.
But still,
Backseat driver.
so that's, you know, one more step towards her treasuryship. I have to apologize about bank statements. I'm trying, I really am. They will absolutely be done by the end of this year because we have budget coming out. Yep, so I'm trying, I swear to God, I'm trying. I explained the budget process last month at the meeting, you know, what our plan is to do and how to do it, so. If we're having 2 meetings in February and in March, I don't believe we should have to have additional meetings at all. I think it went pretty smoothly last year. Fire and EMS are done. Police, we'll work with chief. He has his own spreadsheet. Dustin's very easy once he's, so I think it'll go, I think it'll go pretty smoothly. You know, and I think it'll be easier for Jess to learn that way too. Keith, I'm hoping to have all the bills in for everybody for Winterfest. So Cynthia will have a completed spreadsheet by your January 6th meeting, so you'll know where you stand money wise, which is really good, unless she comes up with some huge bills that are coming. But I think you'll be happy with where they stand.
What was the MC?
That was general mass applause and you already did.
Apparently it got lost.
Failed to sign a contract for the second. Well, that sounds good. Thank you, but
Vicky, we will need some budget date other than the second meeting in February, because I will not be in town.
That's what I mean.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll send out a doodle just for something in February or something like early March.
You're not gonna have anything by our second meeting in January, are you?
Oh, yeah, because well, I'll have some things that we could start, not necessarily the department. I mean, unless I say to chief, hey, I need these by, but I plan on giving them to the department heads by our first meeting in January. So I can talk to Dusty and chief. Ours is pretty easy. The office comms is pretty easy.
So we can start maybe with those.
You know, I don't see why not, Morgan.
Okay, that's fine.
You know, if you want to do that.
I just need to move that second February meeting, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
I won't be here. either.
Basically, the last
So
weeks of
you-
February are out. From Marcia there.
Ish.
Okay.
So we are gonna have 2 meetings in February.
We'll need another meeting in February somewhere.
Okay, so do you want me to send a doodle out just for that
Yeah.
time period? Okay, I can do that.
And why don't you include the week of the 6th?
February 6th?
6th and the 20th,
I won't be here the 6th.
at all that week.
The 20th is a holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah, just send out some dates.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, the 20th is President's Day, Vic.
Yeah,
and I won't. Okay, I'll figure it out, but I'll send it out. Hopefully this week, and then that way everybody knows their calendars.
You could look that last week of January if you, I don't know if that's any better.
Well, we're gonna have a meeting that last week in January.
Well,
it's actually, this
there's
is
one more.
fourth Monday is early.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll just put the dates out and we'll figure it out. Let me think, what else is going on?
No, the audit questions are all, I haven't heard from them, so I'm assuming our audit is good. No problem. I did hear from the state of New York, which is not unusual, with about 14 questions about our AUD. Dwayne generally answers most of them. I answer what I can. No, that's not any big deal. I was supposed to meet with Morgan last week, but I had 2 ear infections. To kind of get a definite plan about my exit and helping, so we have a date.
Vexit,
Hmm?
are we calling it Vexit?
That's it. There you go. There you go. So maybe if he has extra time tomorrow after our meeting, he and I can sit down and I'll know there and let you guys know what the plan is. So I think we kind of know what. Because I'm a planner, I have lists, I have things. So, other than that, I'm just trying to teach you guys the ways of being the treasurer. Gonna need help, showing kindness. Yeah, it's kindness and whatever. So. And I'm about 108 days out.
About? You're not counting
Who's now?
that tally on the wall of the prisoner.
But I went from like 15 or 1600 days 4 years ago. It just seems a little unreal to me. So unless you guys have stuff that you need. Okay, okay.
Any questions for me? Okay. Clerk's office.
Hey, everybody. Just a couple of things. I'm going to make some calls probably the week after New Year's to get a shred truck scheduled. So if everybody could please think about getting their stuff that you have in your possession that you no longer want, and get it to in boxes and get it to me so that we can purge all the things that we no longer have to retain. We have not shredded since 2018, so we have a huge amount of materials that we need to put in the shred truck. So I will keep you posted on a date and time for that. I'm hoping to wait till Dustin at least has a 4th, because we will need assistance from the DPW for that task. The second thing, I'm still working, kind of catching up on some projects. I'm hoping to start working with Tom in the next week or 2 to get some more forms online, not only to have online forms, but also to have the fillable PDFs. I think a lot of people prefer the online entry so they don't have to print anything at home. So I think it would be in our best interest and our residents' best interest to make them available paperless. So I'm going to hope to, after all of you take a look at the new forms that Tom is bringing forward and have a whack at them, that we'll get on that. The other thing I'm working on is trying to find a cleaning service for the Village Hall. We lost ours about a month and a half ago. We need someone who can clean the entire Village Hall 1 day a week, preferably during business hours. So that's, I'm going to put an ad up. So that's coming if anybody's watching and is interested. We are definitely in need. And until then, we'll just take care of the things that we can take care of while we're in the office. The last thing I have, and Keith actually touched upon it, I know that when Officer Bechtold was hired, the board's intention was to give him 6 months probation, and then at the end of his probation to increase his salary. All well and good, but I need to do the termination of his probation now. Doing it when they're hired doesn't really fall in line with civil service rules or procedure. So I'm great with, I have no problem with the board choosing to shorten Dan's probation, but it really needs to be a resolution at tonight's board meeting or in the future. It shouldn't be done at hiring. So if we could just clean that up so that I can get his civil service paperwork, removing him from probation to them when I'm back in the office on Wednesday morning, that would be great. And other than that, I can't think of anything unless someone has questions.
Any questions for Tammy?
I'll just point out, Tammy, I think you were aware, we do have a couple of fully online forms on the website. And if we wanted to kind of go that route, or we could keep going to fillable PDF, I don't know if I have much opinion either way.
I think I would like to do both, Ben. I think that some folks are very comfortable with PDFs, fillables, and want to print stuff at home. But at the same time, a lot of people don't have printing access. So I think if we do it both ways, and it's really not a lot more work to do it both ways. So I think it would serve the community better overall if we offered both.
No, I think that makes sense. And, loop Nick in as you need. He'll put that together pretty easily.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other questions for Tammy? Okay. So I don't forget, Keith, would you like to make a motion to end Officer Bechtold's probationary period retroactive to his 6-month anniversary date from his date of hire?
Would be actually tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the 6 month? Even better. Would you like to make a motion to end Officer Bechtold's probationary period effective tomorrow?
I would.
I'll second.
So it's a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 7, old business. Any items of old business that's escaped our attention?
Yeah, actually, say things that aren't necessarily for business, but in terms of speaking. Sure. I'm wondering if you are planning on doing a winter spring newsletter?
We,
All summer?
last time we had talked about doing it more summer only.
Okay,
Yeah,
so think about that in terms of communication for this sort of stuff too. So. more
yeah,
summer. Okay.
it might be outside of that. We might be done by then, but. good-
Okay,
good
great.
to
And
remember.
I also want to report that the newsletter, the weekly newsletter that's email is good. We reduced our subscription limit. So I'll see if I can tweak that and unsubscribe people, or we'll ask to see if we want to buy a subscription. And the letters to Santa program came out in the last newsletter, which is a really great charitable thing. People may or may not know about. They can learn more about that on Facebook, since we have a lot of new arrivals to that area. I wanted to just publicly thank Vicki and Tammy for being so kind, patient, and forthcoming with all their information. Thank you. Oh, and water bills will go out with a couple meter reads in, and so they'll go out first week of January. Thank
Okay.
you.
We have any items of new business?
I would just mention something I forgot to mention in my update. Old, it's new, it will be new, is Crit
All right.
is officially coming back and will once again be the New York State Championship in August, so.
And that we should be as the date announced about it. So that we can plan. I'll put that out. August.
So I think ETC will revisit that too, and
It is.
I think there's August 12th. There's always been a lot of chatter about how we could do more around the event, so.
Okay.
But
Okay, take any ideas? Right, any other items of new business? Okay, wow. Must be the end of the year. Seeing no members of the public present in person or online, I would entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss DPW personnel and negotiations subject to the Taylor law.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the wires.